consists of a doctor, a nurse practitioner, social worker, a clergyman, and an RN, came to my mom's room and wanted a meeting with my family. I was kind of confused because I thought, why do they want to talk to us for? Because in my mind, my mom was coming home. But they spoke to us in regard to my mom's condition, and they suggested that I bring her home with the assistance of hospice. I was totally shocked in hearing the word hospice, because I really felt that we were bringing her home and that she was going to come home normal to us. I had physical therapy going in, we had speech therapy going in, everything that we could do in order to get my mom back to normal. On October 31st, we brought my mama home with me in Clovis with the assistance of hospice. My daughters Rosie and Lolly and I took care of my mama 24/7. We thought we would need the nurse's assistance, but we knew that we were the only ones that wanted to care for my mama. My mother never was alone. We never left her alone in the hospital. And at home, she was surrounded by her family and friends. If one of us left the room, somebody went in, whether it was at the hospital or at my home. My mom passed into the Lord's arms on November the 8th at 7:25 a.m. I remember looking at the clock, and it stuck to my head that it was 7:25 in the morning. She was surrounded by her family. We prayed for her. We said the rosary for her throughout her hospital stay and the stay at my home. My mama, like a lot of you, everyone that has a mom always feels special with their mom and that their mom was special. But my mom was truly loving, giving, and she was so selfless. She was a selfless woman. My mom would come to visit me in Clovis or go to my brothers in Dallas or go to my brother Benny's. She wasn't the type of mom that ever expected for us to serve her. Rather, she came to serve us. Whether she was cooking for us a meal, cleaning our garages, washing and folding our clothes, or doing yard work. I cannot remember not one time my mom came to our homes and sat down, expected us to serve her. Never once did I serve her a glass of Coke or a cup of coffee. Until the very end of her life, maybe the last 2 months before she had the stroke, that I finally started serving her coffee or soda. She always said she was there to serve her children. She was such a selfless mother. It was an honor and our pleasure to care for her when she needed us the most. My mom was so selfless that her and my dad treated us to a private family trip to make sure that we had the most meaningful memories in Cancun, Mexico. But most importantly, my mama stressed the importance of always being united as a family and together, and never, ever not forgiving each other. She always wanted people to get along, especially siblings. It would hurt her so deeply when she knew that siblings were not talking to each other. And she always tried to facilitate any way she could in bringing sisters together, brothers together, families together. Today I share my loving and painful experience with you all. If you have your mother in your life, please do not take your mothers for granted. There's no time to waste. With your mother or any loved one, forgive each other and love each other and spend quality time together, because you cannot get the time back. I know that my mom is without her Heavenly Father, but I think it's just natural to feel like if only I could have my mom back one more time, or if I could just talk to her one more time. I guess it wouldn't be enough, but you always want one more time. So if you have your mama or a loved one, do not take them for granted. Don't go a day without calling your mamas. There's no excuses. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a cell phone with them all the time. Call your mama, text your mama, be with your mamas and your fathers and all your loved ones, because you cannot get that time back. I wish I would have time back with my mama, and I can't no more. I would give anything just to be able to talk to her one more time or call her in the morning. So everybody just love each other and take care of your families, and thank you for being here.
You know, as my sister has spoken and thanked everybody, thank you very much for being here. I just have a couple of things to say because my brother has quite a bit to say also. And, you know, our mom taught us to do things, and she said she only had to say one, and the other one would come natural. Forgiveness. And if we learn to forgive, love came automatic. Thank you for being here.
My name is Paul, and I'm the eldest of my mom's children. I reside in Texas and have been there about 20 years. It wasn't until recently where I really felt bad for being so far away. But let me start by saying what I thought about my mom and how she will always be at the edge of my mind, my heart, and my soul. Is this: you could not confuse kindness for weakness. My mom was a very, very strong-willed person. And that showed. That showed in everything she did. But she was always kind. But she wanted to make sure it was fair. A friend of one of my nieces probably said it best. And I'm going to read you what she said. She said, "As you all start your final goodbyes today, I just want you to know that Grandma Dina is smiling down right now. She left behind she was not only an amazing, strong, beautiful woman, a no-nonsense, yet compassionate, caring, let's get the job done kind of person. God handpicked each one of you to carry on her legacy, her generosity, and her spice for life, keeping you all, especially Grandpa Benny, close in her heart, and had many thoughts and always in her prayers. Don't forget to breathe and love one another." The next few minutes, I just hope to tell you a little bit about my mom that maybe some of you didn't know. When I was 8 years old, she was a dead mother, Cub Scout leader. And for a year, she met every week. We met at I forget what it was, but it was downtown Tulare in a basement where they played pool on the first floor. But she would make sure that every week the group that we were involved in had an activity and followed the manual exactly the way it was. She was emphatic about keeping a car clean, and she could hear rattles in a car that nobody else could hear. When she and my dad visited us in Dallas a few times, it's like my sister said, she never came to get served. As soon as she got there, she, saw our garage and wanted to start organizing it, and the house and doing the yard. My dad started doing the yard, and a neighbor came by and said, "Hey, how much do you charge?" They thought he was the lawn guy. daughter's car, and I thought she was going to faint. The way my daughter kept her car, but tried to help her clean it and get it organized. She hated sitting still, and she was a beloved 49er and Giant fan. I think that's where Lolly, my niece, gets it from. My mom loved her brothers and sisters unconditionally. And in her eyes, they could never do anything wrong. My sister and I, my brother sometimes would ask her questions, and she kind of took our tone as being something, she would just stop us in our tracks right there and said, don't ever say anything about my brothers or my sisters. I can say it, but you can't. She loved her nieces and nephews, all of them. She loved her grandkids. The last few months, because I know my mom was forgetting a lot, it was important. I came to visit, and she was so confused about what medicines she was taking. So that from that point on, I made a commitment to call her every single night in Texas, when I was in Texas. And I'd call her every night about 11 o'clock my time, which was about 9 o'clock her time. And I would say, Mom, I was just calling to see if you took your medicine. And she would respond to me, did you take yours? And I said, I have. Sometimes I haven't, but I told her I had. And I said, but it's more important that you take yours. But those phone calls gave me an opportunity to talk to her about other things that were going on in her life, which I'll always remember. I remember her telling me one night, a few months back, how grateful she was for John Holt, and how grateful she was to Greg for taking in her grandkids and her kids and her great-grandkids. He said she loved them. They loved the kids just like as if they were theirs. And then she said something interesting. She said, but Jackie, John's current wife, she's really special, Paul. She's a good person. And how she treats her grandkids and great-grandkids. She said she felt comfort because she knew no matter what, that they were going to be okay. Because of Greg, John, and especially Jackie. Because Jackie was the woman and she knew. She said she's such a good person, Paul. I really love her. I have memories close to my heart about her. Most of you knew that my mom was a very, very good athlete, right? And one of my aunts just told me the other day that they'd be working out in the fields, and the teachers from the high school would come to the fields and pick her up in a car to take her to go play a softball game. And some of my aunts were so jealous because when they picked her up, they had like a hamburger, fries, and milkshake waiting for them, waiting for my mom, so she could eat while they drove to the game. But my mom was a fierce competitor in everything she did, in volleyball, basketball, she played tennis, but the love was softball. I'm not sure why, but I was her constant companion as a kid, going to all her softball games and practices. I don't know, I don't know where my brothers and sisters were, I don't remember that, but I just remember sometimes went to Fresno when we lived in Tulare, and again, I don't know why, but I accompanied her. She left to go see the Fresno Rockets play at Holmes Park in Fresno. And one of the memories that stands close to my heart is that I thought it was a huge treat that we would always stop at McDonald's right next to it. I'd get a Big Mac, fries, and a drink, and she'd always get the two burgers with mayonnaise only, and fries. And we'd go to the stadium and we'd eat while we were watching the game. And we would talk about how good somebody was or who wasn't. People who really knew my mom knew that she was a strong woman, as we said, and she demanded respect. She demanded respect a lot like her mother. I remember my grandma Dina would do the same thing. It didn't matter how old you are. I remember, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago when I was here and I was talking to her and I said something to her auditory. And she grabbed my shoulder and she said, "Don't you think you're too old that I won't slap you right now?" And I said, "Okay." I backed off because, one quick story, so I remember that. Because in the last few days of my mom's life, my brother, my sister, and I were leaning over her bed. My sister was very emotional, telling her how much she loved her and what a good mom she was and everything that she did for us. And my brother was saying the same thing. And I said the same thing. I said, "Mom, you were a great mom. You always gave us everything we want. You were so good, except for the time that you came after me with a bat." Because I talked back to her. And she ran. She was fast. Because I had to run almost a block and a half before she could run. And I was so scared to go back home. But after she cooled down a little bit. When I told that story, my niece Rosie said, "Oh, that's where I get it." I never told her. My mom was really passionate about what she believed about politics and government, and we differed a lot on it. And my sister, sometimes when the three of us were together, she'd egg it on, so my mom and I would get into it. But I never told her, and I should have told her, how much I respected her passion for what she believed. She had it. She thought it was right, and nobody could tell her any different. And we wrote, the company I worked for helped write the Healthcare Act, and my mom was trying to tell me what was in it. And I said, "Mom, have you read the 2,000 pages? Because I haven't, and we wrote it." She goes, "I know what it says in there," and she would not back down. A while back, while I was talking to her on the phone, I called. And she was in the kitchen, and my dad was in his room watching TV. And my dad answered the phone, and I said, "Hey, Dad," I was calling her about the medicine. I said, "Where's Mom?" He goes, "Oh, she's in the other room watching TV." I go, "What is she doing?" And my dad said, "She's yelling at the TV." And I said, "Who's there?" And he said, "No one." And I said, "Well, what is she yelling at?" He goes, "She's yelling at Trump. She's saying how crazy he is and he doesn't know anything," and literally yelling. I could hear her. I said, "Dad, okay, let me get this straight. My mom's alone in the living room yelling at a TV. Nobody's listening to her." I go, "Who's the one that's crazy?" I said, "You need to go tell her that." He goes, I am staying right here. I'm not moving." But when I told my mom that story a couple of weeks later, she busted up laughing. So, anyway, let me see, they're telling me I can't tell you everything that she did. supported not only me, but my brothers and sisters. She loved us and understood us better than anyone else. She saw our weaknesses, our flaws, our strengths. She saw our being. She accepted us for what we were and only wanted us to be happy and healthy. We were the lucky ones. She loved us unconditionally. That was my mom. In closing, I would like to repeat what my sister said. We have a lot of family here. To my cousins, my nephews, my nieces. I don't care what your parents are going through. I don't care if you think they're crazy. I don't think if you think they're whatever complaining. You need to get close to them. You need to call them every day and see how they're doing. They need to feel your love. I am so lucky. I'm so lucky that I had a nieces, and a sister who took care of my mom, and she wanted for nothing. She was spoiled. They treated her like a queen, and that was the only solace I had, that I knew she was taken care of. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for honoring my